All right, good morning, everyone. If anyone wants to give me like a thumbs up in chat or something like that, just to make sure that audio is good, that would be appreciated. That's a good sign. All right, cool. Awesome. So welcome to Math 154. We are going to be, quote, meeting at this time for the rest of the semester, each Tuesday and Thursday. So we'll have an hour and 15 minutes together. If for some reason you are unable to catch the live lectures, which I highly encourage that you catch them live, these videos will always be posted. I will record them, I'll post them to YouTube, and then I'll put those links in Canvas immediately below where you saw the live lecture link if you went through Canvas this time. If you just went through the email directly, then, well, you'll see where it is very shortly as I demonstrate the locations and details of all of this course because, well, there's a lot of details that we have to cover today, and we probably won't get to any material today because of that. This is a very unique course. It's a very fun course. It's a very different course. Usually when you take a math class, it's arithmetic, it's algebra, maybe a little pre-calculus, and you usually get the question, why are we learning this? How will I ever use this in my life? Well, I say that this is a different kind of course because we don't just learn algebra for the sake of learning algebra. We don't just learn pre-calc for the sake of learning pre-calc. In fact, we don't do pre-calc. We're going to learn a few basic principles and extend them, and for the most part, try and use these things in real life settings. Talk about the concept of proportions and how they're all over our world. We'll talk about how we can kind of, see if there's truths or non-truths in declarative statements and researches and things like that. Researches, that's a word. And my favorite topic of the course is we're going to get into finance. We're going to learn how to handle credit cards and how to handle debt and how to start retirement planning and how a little bit of money up front can go a long way over 40 or 50 years of just storing it away and waiting on it. So again, that's one of my favorite topics, especially because it's something they should be teaching you in high school and pretty much no one does. But anyways, let's save the rants for later. So I am Rodney Beckner. This is your course ID. If you see the wrong time at the top of this document for the syllabus, just ignore that. My office phone number is here. It's not the best way to get a hold of me because due to the situation in which we're teaching and learning, I'm not going to be in my office, but maybe once or twice a week. So you can leave a voicemail, but I can't promise that I'll get back to you with any kind of haste due to that fact. But just in case, my office location and office phone number are up there, although I don't really anticipate anybody coming to campus to see me. Office hours are still in the air because up until yesterday, I wasn't exactly sure what my schedule was going to be 100%. One or two of my classes were in the air, so I couldn't make office hours around that. But we'll get to that later in a couple of days. So for now, best way to get a hold of me outside of class, write this down, rbeckner@tcc.edu, to which I have already sent you one email from. Please, 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 when you email me, if you're starting a new email chain, please make sure in the email title you put Math 154 and your class time. That is very important that you put Math 154 and your class time because I teach various classes each semester and I teach multiples of some of these classes. So if you don't say what class you're in, that's going to be a problem for me. If you say Math 154, yeah, I can flip a coin and figure out which class you're in, but I do have pretty much both sections full. So please make sure you put the time in there as well. And not just Tuesday, Thursday, it has to be the time. Course site, why is that blank? That should be mymathlab.com. The syllabus builder did not treat me right this week, and I think it's probably because they had to change a lot of things. They added a whole bunch of different COVID-19 stuff, and I think when they did that, it really messed a couple of things up because when I typed this, I typed course site, and I've got another syllabus that this whole section came out blank after I typed it up. Made no sense, and that making no sense part, you're going to hear me say that a lot in this course. Again, another thing that was left blank, oddly, I'll get this document patched up and I will put this in Canvas so that you have a more accurate document, but this was emailed to you. Now, if you enrolled in this course after the moment I sent an email on Monday, which was, I don't know, 3 p.m., 4 p.m.-ish, somewhere around that ballpark, then you didn't get the email, you didn't get this live lecture link, probably so, unless you just went into Canvas and saw the link. Then welcome, but otherwise you'll get that information. In the future, please sign up for courses on time though. It causes a lot of issues such as that, but also on the administrative side of things with TCC, and a lot of classes get canceled because students enroll late, and that's actually a direct effect of my schedule potentially having been shifted. But you know, that wasn't an issue for this course because again, full enrollment, it was another course. So again, your syllabus is available. I emailed it to you or will be emailed. The corrected version will be uploaded into Canvas later this week. I've got a lot on my plate, but I will get it fixed and uploaded as soon as I possibly can. You've got little hyperlinks that for some reason this works in some views and not in other views. I think it works if you do book view. Yeah, it's weird that it does it that way, but Word is not a perfect program. So table of contents, look that over on your own. I'm not going to cover every detail in a grand manner, but we'll talk about everything we absolutely have to. Course description, kind of already lightly discussed this, proportional reasoning, some modeling, financial literacy, and validity studies, which is logic and set theory. Admittedly, this logic and set theory, I don't anticipate that we get to. This course has a ton of material of which we only have the time to cover about half of in terms of these worksheets that they give us and these homeworks that they give us. So we spent enough time just getting through 9 chapters of that. Getting to a 10th chapter can be quite challenging. I've only ever honestly got to this a couple of times out of the dozen or so times I've taught this class. And given the teaching manner, just don't expect it. But the good thing about this course, it's not like an Algebra 1 course where you need everything to go to Algebra 2. And it's not like a pre-calc course where you need everything to go into calculus. This is just a few things here and there that give you awesome techniques that you can apply in lots of ways and help you understand things that are going on in the world, in the news maybe. And if we miss a topic, that's fine. There's no second half of this course that exists for us. So again, it's kind of nice that if I choose to maybe not cover one section, again, that'll be fine. And I cover everything that I feel is absolutely necessary. Again, the finance stuff kind of being the most important, and we'll get that peppered throughout the semester. Prereqs, you can see the different prereqs that you're supposed to have. We have a new way to get placed in the classes. It's this direct enrollment kind of thing. Some of you will be taking what we call an MDE 54. That's a co-req course. That was messed up pretty bad in terms of the courses are supposed to be linked for our campus. There's supposed to be a single 54 class that's linked to 2 154 classes. That way, the issue is if you have 10 different students in an MDE 54 that are from 5 different teachers, they could be at 5 different paces, and it becomes more of a challenge. So the idea was supposed to be that we only had 1 or 2 that were supposed to be in communication. And in fact, I was supposed to be teaching all 3 of these things together. But because this is a brand new thing, some things were messed up or nerfed, if you will. And we're trying to get that cleaned up. So if you are in an MDE 54, make sure that you're in the correct link course. Maybe talk to your 54 instructor. If you're in my 154 and my 54, obviously you're in the right place. Okay, and a lot of you are not going to be in a 54. This was kind of they ask you where you are, what you did in high school, how your grades were, that kind of stuff to help you figure out where you should be placed. Required course texts and supplementary materials. Now here's where things get interesting, and I had several emails, as I usually do, beforehand going, where's the textbook? Where's the textbook? If I go to the bookstore, there's no textbook. That's because there is no physical textbook. There is a physical thing you can purchase that has pages and such, but it's not a textbook. It's a guided worksheet book. And we will be working from that pretty much every day throughout the semester, but it's still an optional purchase. So what exactly are you required to buy? And this is absolutely required. A Mymathlab Access Kit for Math 154. So you can purchase that from Barnes & Noble, or you can purchase it directly from mymathlab.com, and I will show you where that is essentially in a bit, not this second. So you do have to purchase the access code, which is probably in the ballpark of $93, or you can buy the code with the worksheets, which is probably another $15 or $20 because I believe the worksheets as a standalone item is supposed to be $20. I don't actually know if the bookstore is still offering it by itself or not. You might have to buy the combo. But again, if you don't want to purchase these physical worksheets, this extra $20 thing, there is an electronic version of it. But I mean, honestly, having this on paper in front of you is a really good idea, especially given how this course is going to be delivered, where your electronic screens are already taken up mostly. So if you have the extra $20, purchase the worksheets, please. It will benefit you. You can see your course learning outcomes, develop a mathematical model for a real-world situation, and use it to identify a reasonable solution and effectively communicate the solution and procedures used to determine it. This is the main idea of the course, on top of demonstrating knowledge and skills needed to make financial decisions. A lot of this other stuff just kind of goes in place with those first two bullet points. Technology will be used extensively in this course. We will be using Microsoft Excel. Notice I said Microsoft Excel. I did not say Apple Numbers. I did not say Google Sheets. I did not say, what is it, Open Office Spreadsheets, whatever that, or any of these other companies. I said Microsoft Excel. Everyone must use Microsoft Excel. If you don't use Microsoft Excel, there are going to be a lot of times where your grade will be affected by it because Microsoft Excel acts just a little different at times than Apple Numbers and Google Sheets and Open Office, again, whatever their program is called. So they might not have certain functions. They might not have certain types of chart capabilities. They may be laid out differently. So make sure you are using what program? Microsoft Excel. On top of that, if you have a Chromebook, you're really going to be a little upset because you can't put Microsoft Excel on a Chromebook, and there's another type of laptop similar to Chromebook. I can't think of the name, but it's the same thing because it's proprietary software, so you can't put one on another, kind of like it used to be the issue with Microsoft and Apple products, which doesn't really exist anymore. So you're going to have a downloaded version of Excel, and I'll tell you how to get that. Every single one of you gets it for free. By being a TCC student, you get the whole Microsoft Suite package for free if you haven't heard before. So we'll go over how to get that stuff. But again, if you use the online version of Excel, once again, you'll have problems. You can't use the online version of Excel. You can't use numbers. You can't use sheets. It has to be the downloadable version of Microsoft Excel. There are differences between the downloadable version and the online version. Isn't that fun? All right, topics. Already kind of talked about models, proportions, financial literacy, the validity studies and stuff that, like I said, we probably won't get to, but we'll try. We'll do our best. There is a typo here, and I will actually admit that's not, at least it shouldn't be, the syllabus builder's fault. That's me missing that word. That should say Canvas. And the Excel assignments generally aren't even going to be on Canvas. You'll usually just be doing them in Mymathlab. Again, we'll show you all of that stuff. approximate schedule of where we'll be at any point, which I can only see part of the screen because of my bar at the top, which you probably can't see. This is very rough, and I will admit the first 2 weeks, this is not accurate at all, but I'm not supposed to change this, so it is what it is. Week 1, well, the first class, we're going to talk about the course, and then the second class, as well as the first class of week 2, we'll be doing our introduction to Excel. We're going to assume that you've never seen Excel before, you've never used it before, and we're going to take baby steps and introduce you how to do things. And we're going to ask you to create your first Excel file and submit it to me. But I will literally show you every single step along the way to do this. So that's going to take us a full week plus a day today for the intro. So getting 1.1 and 1.2 done in the first week, kind of difficult. 1.1 we might get done, but I don't anticipate finishing 1.2, but that's okay. Week 8 is definitely not going to be when the midterm is. It's going to be more like week 10, again, because I want to take our time, especially with this first half of the material. These first 4 chapters are going to have a lot of implications into the material in the last half of this course. So we will do 4 chapters, then we'll have a midterm probably about 10 weeks in, and then we'll do the remaining chapters. Now, the first 4 chapters we cover every section for, but after that we kind of start taking pieces and parts of things. We aren't going to cover 5.4. We're only going to do, I think, 6.1 and 6.2. 6.1 is supposed to be up here. I don't know why it's missing. We'll do 8.1 and 8.3, so we skip chapter 7 altogether. And then we'll cover 9.1 through 9.5, excluding 9.4. 9.4 has got some cool Excel functions, but stuff that we just don't need to cover in here. And like I said, at that point, we'll be probably 2 weeks behind what this schedule says. Really don't anticipate in getting these 3 sections, but we'll try our best. And then the last day of class is, of course, the final exam. And then you can read through these on your own time and just see, hey, Unit 1, the first chapter, Chapter 0 is what I like to call it, is just this introduction to Excel, spreadsheet basics, built-in functions and charts. Chapter 1, we skip anything having to do with statistics in this course. We might talk about mean, median, and mode, which are types of averages, but that's it. That's the only statistics we do. So we're not going to be doing any distributions like chi-square, the normal, if you've ever heard of those things. We're not going to be doing any normal variables, the z's, or standard deviations, none of that stuff. We'll save that for a statistics class, which you can have with another teacher. Chapter 2, ratios and proportions. Chapter 3, units, conversions, sackles. Somebody typoed that sackles. I never noticed that before. That's amazing. Scales and rates. Chapter 4, percentages. Chapters 2, 3, and 4 heavily tied to each other. You can't do Chapter 3 without Chapter 2. You can't do Chapter 4 without Chapter 2 and 3. Chapter 5, lines. Chapter 6, exponential functions. We talk about the difference of modeling things with lines versus exponential functions, how lines tend to be good in the short term for like real world models based on population or time, whereas if you want to look at long term, exponential is better. If you want to look really long term, there's a model we don't even do in here, but we'll get there later. Some logic, which again, we don't cover Chapter 7. Because the math is a little above our head with this logarithm stuff. That's more pre-calc level than what we want to be doing in here. Correlation versus causation, one of my favorite basic ideas in terms of logic and identifying whether this means that. And then again, my actual favorite chapter, financial health. We've got a COVID-19 statement. Make sure if you go on campus, you're wearing your mask. You'll have to go in through, there's only one entrance and exit to each building. For the Portsmouth campus, they're all located on the quad, I believe. Security will check you in. You'll have to sign in. They'll ask you if you've had any symptoms, that kind of stuff. Pretty much, quote, normal for our world now. Specific course policies. This one right here is something my students don't ever want to do. No one ever wants to do this. The first sentence specifically. But trust me, you have got to do this whether you want to or not. There's a lot of things in life that we have to do that we don't want to do. If you're not doing this, if you're not reading ahead and having your guided worksheets ready, you are going to have a tougher time in this course. This is not a course where I'm just going to lecture for an hour and 15 minutes. Now, given the online format, it's a little closer to like 45 minutes or an hour, but I do like to take some time and have y'all think about stuff. I'll be pausing a lot. If we were meeting in class, then I would do group work, and I'd only talk for probably like 20, 30 minutes of each class, and the rest of the time would be group work. It's very challenging to do group work in this course, given that, well, I have 22 students in this class, 22, 24, and less than half of them are watching live. So I can't really do group work with only a few students. And I anticipate that that's the case. I know a lot of people can't watch live, which is why we have the recordings, and that's why we have a looser attendance policy that I'll get into soon. But you need to especially read ahead in the text. If we finish 1.1, you need to read 1.2 before the next class. I also give you some very brief notes in Canvas that I cover in class, and I cover quickly, so you would also want to put your eyes on that. I would actually say that's the more important thing to put your eyes on versus the text, but doing both is how you're going to make A's and B's in this course. How's your grade calculated? Can I get this all on one screen? Yes. The scroll is kind of funny sometimes. Your grade will be compiled of several different categories. Look at all these different categories. My other math classes never look like this. It's just homeworks, tests, and that's it. Maybe quizzes if I have to. Mymathlab Homework. This is going to be your traditional homework. Again, we're using the Mymathlab program. We're going to show you what it looks like, how to register later today. There will be one per e-text section. Let's see, 4, 8, 12, 16, 19, I'm counting. 21, what is it, about 25, 27, 28, somewhere in that ballpark sections that we cover. So that's how many Mymathlab homeworks that you'll be responsible for doing. It says to complete by the next class. Now, I highly suggest that you complete your homeworks before the next class, specifically those, because if you have a homework on 1.2 and the next class we're covering 1.3, I bet it would be really awesome and helpful if you've already mastered 1.2 so that you're ready to understand and learn 1.3. If you come into the class trying to learn 1.3 without having practiced 1.2, you're probably going to have a bad time. It's going to be more difficult. It's going to be more challenging. Please, for yourself, do these homeworks before the next class. I'm a little looser with the due date. I'll go ahead and say it. You'll see it later, but I give you 1 week to complete these homeworks for Mymathlab. So even though I'm giving you a week, I'm highly encouraging and highly suggesting that you cover them before the next class to ensure that you are ready to learn the next section. Falling behind in this course is never a good idea. There's a decent amount of work you have to do. Besides just regular Mymathlab homework, which is usually about 15 problems a section, we will also be doing Excel homework, as we've said. Now, we're supposed to assign roughly, it says instructors can choose to assign all of these or 1 per week or per chapter, for example. I do kind of a in-between of those last 2 statements. Assigning all of them would be a nightmare for you. You're welcome, because there are a ton of these. I do know an instructor has assigned almost all of them before. I don't know how they made their students get that done, or even if they got them done, but it sounded like a nightmare. So I like the kind of 1 per week, except I'm not going to give you the first week because we don't even know how to do Excel yet, right? 1 or 2 of you might, and that's awesome, but as a class, we don't know. So probably sometime during the second week, I'll assign your first one, and the first one will be due week 3. Then we're going to have 1 to 2 projects later, as you see, and I don't necessarily want to have an Excel assignment due the same week a projects due, or the same class a projects due, so that might be a week you get skipped as well. So I usually end up in the ballpark of 10 or 11 Excel assignments, and I think that's pretty reasonable, again, considering that I could choose to assign all if I wanted to be a mean, evil teacher. Again, you're welcome. 1 a week is pretty fair. So you'll have about 1 Mymathlab homework per class day, so usually 2 a week, and then 1 Excel assignment a week roughly. Quizzes, we suggest weekly quizzes. I might do one every week. I might do one a little less. It just depends on how this course works, how often I feel like I need to quiz you. If no one's turning in quizzes, it might seem ironic, but I'll start assigning more quizzes to encourage you, hey, your grade's going to keep dropping if you don't do these quizzes. If I find that everybody's making 100s and 90s and 80s on every quiz, then maybe I kind of loosen up on the quizzes. These will come in a variety of types. You'll have some quizzes where you have to download a file in Canvas, and it'll be based on videos that are in MyMathLab, not videos that I've made, videos that the author has made. You'll get quizzes based on material. You'll get quizzes that might look a little weird and wonky, and it's just kind of, hey, you've got to pay attention. You've got to find the details in the forest, finding the trees in the forest, or seeing the forest for the trees, that kind of thing. So yeah, lots of variety of quizzes. You might see some in MyMathLab. They might be in Canvas and you just have to type a couple words. They might be in Canvas and you have to submit another file. Lots of variety. So Excel assignments, 15%. MyMathLab homework, 15%. Quizzes, 15%. So all three of those categories are weighted the same and are about half your grade. This is all just external participation. The MyMathLab homework, you get as many attempts on a problem as you need. There's no reason, as long as you put in the effort, to not get 90s and 100s on this. And I even give you a little boost that I'll talk about later. The Excel assignments, again, as long as you practice this stuff, as long as you use your resources. The problem is a lot of students just want to say, I'm not going to do the Excel assignments. It's 15% of my grade. I don't need that 15%. Well, guess what? If you were going to make an A, now you're at a low B or maybe a high C, depending on where your A was. That sucks. And most of these Excel assignments are not that difficult as long as you actually try. The problem with Excel is students want to just stare at a blank screen and not do anything. They're too scared to try anything. But with Excel, you have to try. You have to do things wrong to learn how to do them right. And I will tell you, I have done things in Excel wrong 1,000,001 times just so I can get them right maybe 100,000 or 200,000 times. I cannot tell you how many times I've done something wrong in Excel. The undo button is my best friend and your future best friend. Because you've got to see, oh, if I do this, what happens? Oh, that didn't look right. Let me go back and try something else. Oh, okay, well, I'm doing something a little different. That made it look right. You have to experiment. You have to try. You're not going to learn just by watching someone do it. You have to actually do it yourself. I don't know anyone that can learn Excel just by watching it and without repeating it and doing their own thing. Quizzes. Again, most of these are going to be homework quizzes. I don't anticipate giving any live quizzes because it's pretty impossible to do. So you've got time on your side to get these done and get your 80s, 90s, and 100s. So that half of your grade should be in the A, B, or science forbid, the high C range. Easy. Guided worksheets, 10%. So this is where I would usually, again, put you in small groups. And if we have large in-class live participation, then I might still do this. But what I anticipate doing for the semester is assigning discussion boards in Canvas. So your guided worksheets where you'll get your points for that are going to generally be in a discussion board inside of Canvas. And you might see some of those already there that are from a previous semester. I might use some of those. I might hide them and bring them back. I might hide them and delete them. But we will kind of have to do our own thing here and there. 10% of your grade comes from this. As long as you do something, you get those 10 points. I'm not going to say you're right or wrong and give you an 80 or a 70 or a 95 or a 20 on a guided worksheet. It's, did the student actively participate? Yes, cool. They got a 100 for that assignment. Now, because of the way the discussion boards work, because maybe I only give 10 questions and I might have 20 students that need to answer, not every student will be able to answer every discussion board. But that doesn't mean you're getting zeros. It's just, okay, if I give 2 discussion boards, if they didn't participate in the first one, did they participate in the second one? Or maybe even by the third one. And if someone's already answered something, you can come in and discuss that. And you could say, I agree, I did this and this and this. And maybe the way you did things is a little different. So even though an answer's been done, even if it's right, you can still come in and discuss that. Now, you're not going to get points for just saying, I agree. That's not discussing. You have to actively participate and give details. And again, I don't discount you for being wrong. If someone's wrong, that's perfectly fine. Guess what? We're wrong a lot of the time. So that gives someone else an opportunity to come in and say, hey, I think you might be wrong. This is the way I did it. And then maybe someone else can come in and say, I agree with the second person. Or they could say, well, actually, I think the first person's right. That's a discussion. That's group work. So again, 10 questions, maybe 20 students. That's still a possible scenario where 20 students could get points on that discussion board. So again, they're going to be located in Canvas. Anything that says Blackboard, you can generally substitute for Canvas. We switched to Canvas about 1.5 years ago, so it's just every time you can't find it every time in these long syllabi. Again, especially because 1 or 2 of them are in the syllabus builder, which I can't edit. So 10% of your grade should be free, unless you just don't want to do anything, in which case you're losing 10%. This is almost an all or nothing scenario. It's very rare students are getting, at the end of the semester, like a 75 for their guided worksheets. It's usually they get hundreds or they get zeros because they're either doing a bunch of stuff or they're doing nothing. And I will give you zeros if you're doing nothing. So if you had an A, now you're at a B. Projects, not a big chunk of your grade, minimum of 1 per semester, maybe 2. I will not have any projects due before the first 8 weeks of the semester are completed, just to have us, have time to get a grips with Excel. The Excel homework is going to be a pre-formatted file where you're just typing answers in a couple of blocks and maybe making a chart or 2. A project is something you have to build from the ground up. There's nothing pre-made about it. In the past, I've made students make their own gradebook. I've had them make retirement plans. I've had them make monthly budgets. I've had them make comparisons to linear and exponential models, short-term versus long-term. I've done a whole variety of things. I think I already know the project I want to do this semester. And if I do a second, if I do 2, one of them will be a little shorter. If I only do 1, it'll be a longer project. But again, I think I already know which one I want to do. I just don't want to say yet because I'm still confirming that. A lot of times I'll take previous projects and just kind of modify them into something a little different just so they're always unique. Then we'll have 2 tests. So 60% of your grade is all homework. What math class does that? What math class gives you 60% of your grade as homework? Not college algebra, not pre-calculus, not calculus. When I teach pre-calc, 80% of their grade are tests, 20% is homework. I think that's great, especially since homework, you have as much time as necessary. You can do stuff over and over and over. I give you multiple attempts on these Excel assignments, by the way. I didn't mention that. But you get 5 attempts on the Excel assignments. You get infinitely many attempts on the regular Mymathlab homework. You're only going to get 1 attempt on a quiz. Guided worksheets is just participation. Project, I mean, that's not even a big chunk of your grade, but you get a lot of time to cover that project. So 40%, the remaining 40% of your grade is for testing. Half of it is the midterm, half of it is the final. The final will be cumulative. The midterm will cover everything chapters 1 through 4. The final, I will wait more towards the last half of the course, but we'll talk about that when it comes time. Course communication, participate in your assignments regularly. Everything for Excel and your Mymathlab homework is in Mymathlab. Quizzes are generally in Canvas. Projects will be submitted in Canvas. You'll have some quizzes to submit in Canvas. I'll have files in Canvas. You're expected to respond to your emails in 1 business day. The same expectation is of me. Did I say that properly? I have. Y'all have the same expectation of me. There we go. The whole preposition thing had me off. Now, business day doesn't include the weekends. I'm not always capable of checking my emails over the weekends, but I will always get back to you if you email me on Friday, no later than Monday. If you email me on a Tuesday, no later than Wednesday. You get the idea. Attendance. So this is where things are a little different than normal. Well, lots of things are different than normal. I cannot mandate that you attend the live class because some of you might not have internet at home and you have to go somewhere else. Maybe you're sitting in the parking lot of TCC right now, or maybe you're in a Starbucks. I don't know. Maybe some of you have your schedule shifted 2 or 3 weeks into the semester because of COVID-19, and now you're no longer able to catch the live class. So again, we have the recordings. So I can't just hover over my participants button and see, all right, well, these 10 students are here today, so the other 10 are absent. I can't do that. Attendance is going to be based on several things. I can say, okay, well, they were in the live lecture, they attended, that's fine, but usually I'm not going to do it based on that. It's are you doing your homework? If you're not doing your homework, you're not attending the course, because everything is homework essentially. So if 3 weeks go by and I don't see a single homework has been completed from you, you've already, quote, missed more than 15% of the semester. Now, I've heard of other teachers saying, well, they could just go and watch the video on YouTube and make a comment. Making a comment doesn't say that you watch the whole thing, though. That's not good enough. You go in and make a comment, you can do that in 5 seconds. Spoiler alerts for other teachers and ruining their plans, I suppose, but I don't know. If something doesn't work, I feel like it should be displayed. I can use quizzes as attendance. I can use discussion boards as attendance. I can use, honestly, whatever I want. And it's not going to say, I'm not trying to use that in a negative fashion towards you. It's, oh, well, this student did all the homework but didn't do a discussion board, so they didn't attend. That's not how I'm going to use that. I'm not trying to boot anyone from this class for lack of attendance. It's participation as a whole. So if I see a student is not doing discussion boards, is not doing Mymathlab homeworks, is not doing Excels, is not turning in quizzes, that student's not attending, and after 4 missed classes, then they're withdrawn. If you're just not going to do your work, go ahead and withdraw from this course, because you're not going to pass. This is not a course where you can't just pass the test and you'll pass. I know some teachers have, oh, if you pass the final, you pass the class policy. I've never had that, and I would definitely never have it in this course, because this course is a composite of all sorts of different things. You have your classic math, you have your Excel math, you have your more critical thinking like the discussion boards. So again, pretty open attendance policy. The first big thing with attendance, as we'll see, is if you don't enroll in Mymathlab by Thursday, and I might have said Wednesday in the email, but if you don't enroll before Thursday's class, I will delete you. You were never here, you never participated. That is an absolute minimum. If you can't take 5 minutes to enroll in Mymathlab, I can't trust you to do anything for the rest of the semester, and I will delete you from the course. You will not be allowed back in. So please enroll in Mymathlab today, or at worst tomorrow. Don't do it Thursday morning. That's just silly, because if Mymathlab is down Thursday morning, uh-oh, that's a problem. And man, I've had that happen. And yeah, okay. Late work, makeup work. There's no late work. There's no makeup work unless you've got an extenuating circumstance. If you've got doctor's notes or court paperwork or something like that. It's just, you can't just say, hey, Mr. Beckner, I was sick. You would have to have a doctor's note for this kind of situation. So we're not going to accept late work. We're not going to do makeup work. I might give you an opportunity for one extra assignment in Excel at the end of the semester. I might not. It depends on how things are going. So please do your work on time. This is a no exceptions policy. Again, no exceptions. There's always exceptions when people say that, but you know what I mean by no exceptions with that. Classroom behavior, please make sure you're muted when you come into class. If you have a question, you are more than welcome to unmute and ask that. Most students tend to just ask questions in the chat, and I think that's preferred, but I'm fine with either. I really don't care how you're asking your questions. It's just, again, most people seem to ask questions in the chat, and that's where I'll kind of pause my lecture, answer, and then we'll continue on. Besides that, it's not like I have to worry about anybody's cell phones going off. You know, I can always mute you myself if I have to, but I'd rather you just keep yourselves muted, because I know a lot of you are at home with watching kids, or you got other things going on. You might be multitasking. Believe me, I know how that is. I'm working from home. I've got a couple of dogs. They like to bark at things. One of them is an old boy, and sometimes he has let's just say a medical emergency that I have to immediately take care of. So if you ever hear me panic and class stops for like 5 minutes, that's what's happened, and I apologize. But you got to take care of those things when they happen. I think that's good. And like I said, I try to go to my office when I can to teach, but it's just not always possible. Electronic devices, again, not really an issue here, but keep yourself on mute and that's fine. I would prefer that you're not texting the whole time you're watching my lectures, because then you're probably not paying attention. But hey, how am I going to regulate that, right? Inclement weather, emergency hazardous conditions, things like hurricanes, tornadoes, double hurricanes coming up the coast all of a sudden. It's 2020, right? Anything's possible. We're probably going to have a snowstorm in 3 weeks, right? Get yourself TCC alerts if you haven't already. My favorite story about myself, about 10 years ago, I was living in Portsmouth teaching in Chesapeake, which was normally like a 30-minute drive. Not the worst thing in the world. Well, it snowed 2 inches one January or February morning, and I have an 8 a.m. class. It's about 6:30. I'm getting ready to leave because I know traffic's going to be, crummy. And there's nothing on the news that says TCC's closed. Like hardly, any of the colleges is closed at this point, which seemed weird because again, it was like 2 inches of snow on the ground. So I sigh, I get in my car, I leave. And at some point on that my hour and roughly 15-minute drive, because again, really, really bad conditions outside, at some point, TCC finally closed. And when I got to campus and I saw the empty parking lot, that desert town, desert snow town, desert snow, that's irony, right? A few words escaped my mouth that I will not repeat on a recorded video. Use your imagination. And then I got in my car and I spent an hour driving home. And the first thing I did was sign up for TCC alerts when I got home. Because had I had that, I would have heard my phone go off during the drive. I could have pulled over. I could have checked I could have checked my voicemail or text message, whichever I'd received, and I would have seen that I could turn my car around a mere 20 minutes into the drive, and I would have had a much better day. So please sign up for that. Obviously, it's not going to cause any driving issues for most of us, I imagine, if you're at home. But it still could alert you to, hey, Zoom is down on the first day of class. That was amazing yesterday. Hopefully it didn't negatively impact any of you, but I try and have a good laugh at things like that, because otherwise we're just going to turn into an anxious mess with butterflies in our stomachs, and nobody needs that in their life. There is a link in the syllabus you can click, or you can just go through TCC and find it pretty quickly. You can probably just Google TCC alerts as well. Emergency shutdown, you'll get messages. By the way, in terms of all this stuff as well, if I ever have to cancel class, I'll notify you as soon as possible. There can be complications to that, such as, let's say my internet's down, or the internet at work is down when I get there because of something weird and wacky, or Zoom is down, or anything. It's possible I won't be able to communicate with you. So if you ever boot up the live class and like 15 minutes goes by and I haven't done anything, I haven't popped on, then that's a good sign that we're not going to have normal class that day. If it's possible, I will record a lecture to make up for it, for you to watch in post, because I know a lot of people are watching in post anyways, so it won't have even affected them. But I have a very busy schedule. I have other classes to teach. There's a lot of politics with my job that we do besides just teaching, a lot of almost administrative stuff like at this point. But so I can't promise that I can record a lecture if something like that happens. I'll try, but no promises. Also, on 2 different occasions in the past 6 months, I have had Zoom not record my class, and it's because Zoom changed my settings without asking me, and I'm not kidding, that has happened to me, unfortunately. And in that situation, again, I may or may not have time to re-record it, and it really sucks to have to re-record a class, but I did it both of those times. But the second time it happened, I had a very, very short amount of time to do it, so that like 2-hour class turned into like a 35-minute class. I was talking really fast. I can really go, I can really go, I can really go sometimes. So what I told my students is, well, the good thing is YouTube has a playback 75% rate or playback 50% rate, so just slow it down and you get a normal lecture. Hopefully that doesn't happen. My desk is wood, so here's a knock on wood. Withdrawal policy, the deadline to withdraw is October 29th this fall 2020 semester. If you withdraw after that, it's an automatic F, unless you have extenuating circumstances like you were forced to move to Canada, or you have a baby, or you were detained or something like that. Hopefully not the last. So if you're going to withdraw, please withdraw before that date. Don't take the F. Honestly, this is a course where you should know whether you need to withdraw or not before that date. Some classes it can be a little tougher to tell, but if you're not doing any of the homeworks, you should probably withdraw because that's half your grade. Deadline to drop with tuition refund is September 9th, so no money back or reduced money back, whichever it is after that date. Please withdraw yourself. Don't force me to do it. There can be complications when instructors have to do it. Sometimes things, get misplaced in offices and then the paperwork doesn't happen until a couple weeks later or something like that. I'm not saying that happens often, but it could happen. Along with other issues, especially with this whole weird attendance policy. If you're still like logging in occasionally or maybe doing one or two things and just not really doing anything else, I can't say that I'm going to withdraw you. So you may miss like 10 classes, but I see activity, so I'm still letting you stay. Maybe it's just weird. So again, try and withdraw yourself just to make it as easy as possible for all parties, not just me, not just yourself, but also the administrative offices. Do your own work, do your own work, do your own work. You will be asked to submit your work for tests for the midterm and final to Canvas. We'll talk about that later. It's not too relevant right now, but your work does need to be your own. We will take action if we suspect any kind of plagiarism. If you have any educational accessibility forms, aka disability forms, from TCC, email them to me and I will accommodate you every way that it says in absolute. If you feel that you need accommodation but you don't have a TCC form, you have to go through our departments or I can't accommodate you legally. Emergency procedures, pretty normal stuff. We don't have to worry about on-campus threats of those natures for class, thankfully. But it's the normal stuff as well. Title IX, again, pretty normal stuff, no discrimination. Library is going to be open throughout the semester. Go to their webpage for their hours if you want to go on campus for that to use, computers, internet, anything like that. We also have the Tutoring Center. The Learning Assistance Center is the alternative name for that. Their hours will be given to you when I know them, as well as a link to their Zoom tutoring. Again, once I have that, I need to email Johnny Davis in regards to that. It's free. It's excellent. They do good work with Excel. So a lot of people for this course go to them for Excel help. They're not going to tell you how to do your homework. They're going to guide you in similar fashions. Important websites. These are two great math websites I post up here, Khan Academy and Purple Math. If you ever find yourself lacking in what I'd call prerequisite material, you might want to go to that. It is expected that you know how to handle decimals, fractions, and signed numbers without a calculator, even though you're allowed to use a calculator the whole semester. Calculators generally don't help with fractions that much, though, unless you have a clever graphing calculator and know some certain functions in it. But those are skills that you should still have. Do we do a lot with fractions in this course? No. It's usually decimals and signed numbers because they're a little more relevant to most of our real lives. And I'm not saying fractions are irrelevant. Fractions are literally decimals. It's just most of us see decimals more often than fractions. All right, so that's our syllabus. If you have any questions, post it in chat or ask real quickly. Besides that, let's go over another document. Do we want to do helpful tips? Let's do this first. So I said Wednesday, but that should say Thursday. That note was for my Monday, Wednesday classes. You must enroll in Mymathlab, in the Mymathlab course before Thursday or before Thursday's course and be deleted. I'm not saying Thursday midnight, I said Thursday's course. So before the start of our class. And I'll be honest, I'm only gonna look at this at like 12:30 in the afternoon, so there's a little bit of leeway there. Where am I going? Here we go. So if you're in my Tuesday, Thursday, 9:30, it's Beckner 87301. If you're in my Tuesday, Thursday, 11 o'clock, it's Beckner 40333. And I say that because I know one or two of you might be in a different class. And I emailed you the specific one that you should be enrolled in, so check your emails. If you did not get an email, that's because you enrolled late, and I will forward that email to you this afternoon. Okay. Homework is due 1 week after the section is completed in class unless otherwise mentioned. That includes Excel. Now, Excel is not based on the section. It's just I'll say, hey, this is the next Excel assignment, so it's due in a week. Sometimes I'll mention the Excel assignment sooner, so I will give you a specific due date for Excel homeworks. But the Mymathlab homework, you are to assume I do not have to tell you a due date for any Mymathlab homework ever. I usually will, but I don't have to because I'm giving you this blanket statement. Homework is always due 1 week after the section is completed, and I mean by 11:59 p.m. that night. So let's say it's September 1st and we cover section 1.3 that day. And I say, all right, that concludes 1.3. I don't have to write a homework due date. You must know that that homework is due a week later. So don't ask me when the homework's due. When is it due? A week later. If we finish it on September 1st, it's due on September 8th. Now, maybe once or twice I make an exception to that and I'll say, well, I'm going to give you an extra class or maybe one less class, which I really don't expect ever doing. That would be mean. But maybe if there's like a test coming up, you might get a slight extension on one homework, something like that. But again, I highly suggest that you complete the homework before the next class. So here's what I do that I think is really, really, really nice of me. I'm not into giving extra assignments and bonus points and curving grades and things like that, with exception to this. Any Mymathlab homework that is a 90 or higher, I will turn into a 100 in my personal gradebook, not the gradebook you see. Again, my gradebook, which is, guess what, in Excel, and you're not going to get to see that gradebook because it's all 20 plus students. So Mymathlab is going to be a liar for your grades, which is why I have in all caps, do not trust your Mymathlab grade. In addition to that, if you don't do a homework, if you never open it, in my gradebook you got a 0, in Mymathlab, it doesn't even count the assignment as existing. So a student who does one homework, gets a 95 on it, skips the other 20 plus of them, Mymathlab will say they got a 95, when in reality, they probably have like a 7 or an 8. So do not ever trust your Mymathlab grade, the average that is. It is wrong, 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 wrong. I would suggest to you that you make your own gradebook. And do you have to make it extensive for the course if I don't do a project of it? No, but what you can do is just say, hey, homework 1.1, homework 1.2, homework 1.3. I got a 95 on this one, I got an 87 on this one, and you can have your grade reflected. So if in Mymathlab it says you earned a 91, on your grade book you can type 100. Any grade that you have a lower than a 90, with the exception of a 0, if you don't try it, I don't do this, because if you're not going to do anything, why should I give you 10 points? So anything lower, I will add 10% to. So the basic idea here is I give you 10 free points of homework, but I'm not going to give anyone higher than a 100% on that homework. So I think that is an excellent opportunity. I do that for every single assignment. So if it says you got an 87, in reality you have a 97, put that in your gradebook. If it says you have a 95, in reality you got a 100, put that in your gradebook. All right. Let's make this stuff just a little bigger. About a 16, there we go. So I used to always ask my students, hey, how much are you supposed to be doing homework a week? How much are you supposed to be studying a week? And about half my students knew the answer a decade ago. I don't know what's up, but no one knows this answer anymore. The rule of thumb is for a 15 or 16-week course, for every credit you're taking, you're supposed to be studying or doing homework 2 hours a week. So this is a 3-credit class, which means you should be doing homework or studying 6 or more hours a week. If you're putting in less than that and making D's and F's, guess what? That's definitely on you. You are not investing yourself. That's the way college works. You know why they call 15 credits a full course load? Because 15 credits means you have 30 hours of homework and studying. Together that makes 45 hours, which is a full-time job. College is not 15 credits, 15 hours, and that's it, you're done. You're supposed to be spending twice as much time, maybe even 3 times as much for some of you who might be weaker in math, weaker in Excel, because that is kind of a floating rule. Some people will say it's supposed to be 1 to 2 hours a week. I would say 1 hour a week per credit if you are a really, really good at that course. Remove the word A from what I said earlier. If you're really, really good at that course. So like me, I'm great at math. So maybe 3 credits means I'm studying and working on it for 3 hours. But a student who is having a very difficult time at math may need to be putting 9 hours in. You are investing in yourself in this course. You are working towards a degree that will hopefully make you some more money later down the line, right? Otherwise, why are you here? You're probably not here just to take a random math class. I highly doubt that. You're working towards a goal, and that goal is probably make more money. So this is an investment. You are investing time in yourself, and if you don't make that investment, how are you ever going to cultivate it later? Take good notes. There are 3 different styles of learning primarily. Some of us learn by reading. I kind of learn that way. Some of us learn by writing. I absolutely learn that way. Some of us learn by listening. I do not learn that way at all. It goes in one ear and out the other. I have to write things down. You are different than me. You may learn the same way as me, but you probably learned a little different or a lot different. Maybe you are a perfect listener and you don't actually have to take good notes. Once it's in forever. I'm always skeptical about that, but most of you need to be writing things down. Do the reading, take the time, watch the lectures, rewatch them. If this was a traditional class, the lecture is only once and that's it. It's not recorded. You get the whole thing, you can watch it 7 times. You can replay sections, you can slow it down if I start talking too fast and you just need to understand what I'm saying. Do the homework, do the homework, do the homework, do the homework, do the homework. We already mentioned homework can and will count as attendance. Don't ask for extra credit the last day of class or after class is over. Do not miss tests. If you miss a test, you're getting a 0 on it and you don't want that to happen. I will give reviews, appropriate reviews, in fact. Appropriate meaning if you can handle the review, you can handle the test. So I will give them at least 1 class in advance. Traditionally, I give them a week in advance. And I will always announce the test at least 1 week in advance. Given that we have this midterm scenario, I can usually announce them 1.5 weeks in advance. But these are my timeline promises. Tests are generally going to be 1 week after finishing the material. So when we finish 4.4, which is the last section of the midterm, that midterm will be exactly 1 week later. This was for another class. The tests, let's just say tests, will have 2 days to take them. So if I say this test starts on October 1st, you have October 1st and October 2nd to take it. That would be 2 full days. So the test would open at 12:01 a.m. and it would close at 11:59 p.m. That's the midterm though. I should say midterm here. The final is only going to be one day. I can't give multiple days for a final, unfortunately. And when you're taking a test, I mentioned you'll have to submit your work to Canvas, and you have a very short time limit to make sure we're suppressing a student going in and working for 3 days later on the questions or something like that. If you believe you deserve partial credit on a test, you have to make a request. You'd email me and say, hey, check out my work for number 7 on the midterm. Mymathlab marked the answer wrong, but I think I have good work. I think I probably have some partial credit, and then I can go in and give you maybe 3 or 4 points back. But potentially, I'm not saying definitely, I'm saying potentially. Yeah, we already said that note. So I emailed you the syllabus, including some errors in it. Again, I will get you a correct syllabus eventually this week, I promise. Let's go over some helpful tips that I also emailed. And again, if you didn't get this, it'll be emailed later today. Sorry, I have to cough. Give me a second. I usually have a glass of water and I forgot to pour it before teaching. All right, so how do you create your Mymathlab account? Go to mymathlab.com, click register now as a student, click OK, register now, enter your course ID, then click the create account button. Make sure to write down what your username, email, and password are that you use. If you use your student account, make sure that you enter that email address accurately. So something like jbob0005@email.vccs.edu. Make sure you get this right. If you mess that up, if you mess your email address up, you're going to come back and sign in with your real one. It's going to tell you you don't have an account or that you forgot your password. They won't be able to retrieve a password because you're not giving them the correct email address. And then you're going to be behind. Now, I do suggest that you use this account, but if you're not going to ever check that email, which again, contractually, you're kind of obligated to check it every business day. But if you're just going to always check your Gmail, then use your Gmail. I don't care. If you've signed up for Mymathlab before with another course, like pre-calculus or something like that, that code is not good. It's not going to transfer. If you are repeating Math 154, as long as it's been within the past year, I believe, then your code is still good. But there is a 14-day free trial at the bottom of the page. So let's show you how to do that. So let me copy paste just one of these. And then let me go into Microsoft Edge, yay. I'm a Chrome person if you can't tell. So mymathlab.com, register now as a student. Remind me later, whatever. The things you need: email address, instructor ID, and then an access code if you already have it. Otherwise, you'll be doing a 14-day free trial or using a credit card or PayPal or whatever to buy a code. Okay, register now. Enter your course ID. There's the vector and one of the 2 5 numbers depending on your course. Again, my 9:30 a.m. is this one. My 11 o'clock was another one. If you already have an account, you can then sign in. Otherwise, you'll be clicking the Create Account button. Make sure that the timestamp is correct. Create, enter your email address. Again, whatever email address you've got, jbob0054, whatever, at email.vccs.edu. Your username can be your email address, or you can make it something else. Password, get it right. Make sure you do everything they say. First name, last name, security question and answer. Agree to the terms. Click this box if it's relevant to you. I usually click this. I don't like receiving 50 million emails, but that's up to you. And then you'll hit create account. I don't want to make a duplicate account though, so what I'm going to have to do is just draw out what the next screen looks like. So after you hit create account, now remember, if I just went too fast, you can watch the replay, but it's pretty simple. So let's do this. So after create account, you'll come to a web page that looks like this. That was weird that it changed color. Is it going to change color again? No? All right. Whatever. Word has been acting very strange this week. It wouldn't even let me draw on it on my classes yesterday. So you'll have a button that says use your code. So if you already got your little pamphlet thing, you can click that and type your code, and boom, you've got access. You've got a button that says buy your code. So you can click that, and then boom, you can pay the 75 to 95, whatever amount of dollars it is. And then you'll have in small blue font down here, 14-day free trial. And it doesn't just say exactly 14-day free trial, but you get the idea. So most of us are going to be clicking here. Now, after those 14 days are up, you will be locked out of the course until you purchase the code. Again, purchasing a code is 100% mandatory. If you can't purchase a code, you need to go ahead and leave this course now. And I'm sorry it's that way, but that's how it is for our course. You need the course materials. All your grades are in Mymathlab with the exception of some quiz stuff in Canvas. All right, so when you click that and then you go past one more screen that basically says enroll, you'll come to this, and again, it'll just be whichever one is relevant. So this is what your Mymathlab will look like. Got about 10 minutes. So the reason you don't have to purchase a physical text is because right here is your e-text. And all the different chapters we'll cover, including some that we won't, like Chapter 7 and parts of Chapter 8. Chapter 0 is that Introduction to Excel section that we'll be working on for the next 2 classes. When you click a chapter, it shows you the individual sections as well as the guided worksheets for that chapter. If you are not going to purchase the workbook, if you're going to print them out on your own or just have the PDFs of them, on your own. Sorry if you can hear my dog barking. I told you. This is where I suggest you go to get your guided worksheets. Now you might say, well, Mr. Beckner, under the main menu, I see guided worksheets right here. Why can't I just use this one and open it up? Because the one on the main menu is every single chapter's worth of guided worksheets, and it's going to take you more time to find where you're supposed to go. And if you try and print it, you're just going to print everything, which honestly, you don't need to print everything. Anything having to do with statistics, you don't need to print. Anything from chapter 7, you don't need to print. Half of chapter 8, you don't need to print. Chapter 10 and on, you don't have to print necessarily. Chapter 10, maybe, maybe not. If you just open it up through the e-text, chapter 0, guided worksheets, download, this is only going to be that chapter's worth. It's much less. And then you can just go to print this. And if you have access to a printer, two-sided printers are awesome to help save the earth. So these are the things that we'll be working through in class quite often, almost every single day. So this chapter 0 one, you'll be working on yourself, and this goes with the Excel file we'll be creating, so you can answer these questions as we go. What formula did you enter in cell E3? So here's cell E3. You will have typed a formula, and you write it down there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's one for each chapter. So if you go back to e-text, chapter 1 guided worksheets, guided worksheets. And here's the chapter 1. You've got spaces for definitions, so these are good to help with notes as well if you like doing it that way. And then chapter 1 worksheets. In these worksheets, you'll also see Excel tips for a lot of the homework. So like if it says Excel preview, this could give you a push in the right direction for completing a lot of the homeworks. This is the first Excel homework will be assigned. It has to do with heart rate. It's a very short one. So maybe this would help you out. Like you're going to have to make a chart. Look at this. They give you what the chart's supposed to look like. So if your chart doesn't look like that, you already know you done goofed and you need to try again. So that's going to be very helpful. What does the e-text look like? Let's open it up. So go to the section, hit explore. Oh boy, it's always fun the first week of class. Explore, let's try that again. I'm crossing my fingers right now. We have to laugh, like I said. Okay, it's just taking its time this time. So this is what your textbook will look like. The reason it's only online is it's an interactive text. You've got highlighted things that you can click. Inputs, what's an input? Click it. Gives you a definition that is not showing because it's having problems right now. Yay, technology. Let's try output. Yeah, that's great. That's never happened before. Let's see if the videos will pop up. So again, we'll be looking through this and using it to help build. It tells you, hey, we'll do this in this cell. It shows you, hey, this is there, this is there. You can download files by clicking on stuff. There's lots of buttons. There's side notes. Anything that says video, you can click and it takes you to a video that may or may not work. Hey, it works. You can click play. The audio may not work because this is on Zoom. You can move around. You can change the play speed. You can rewind, all that good stuff. So the e-text is excellent. You don't have to just go back. If I want to go to section 2, I don't have to go back here and open it that way. You can just keep clicking right. I believe the arrows on the keyboard work now to be able to click right. And eventually you would get to the next section, section 2, and eventually you get to the next chapter. Anything that says PKA is prior knowledge assessment. That's a lot of stuff that you would maybe want to cover in the MDE 54. If you feel rusty, then you can just look at it on your own. Back to the Mymathlab. Your homework under assignments, your traditional Mymathlab homework. It says section 1.1 or section 1.2, whatever. Again, you get as many attempts on a problem as you need. For anything where you actually have to type out numbers, you get 3 attempts before it tells you the actual right answer. So I think the answer is 1. Check. Nope. No, I still think it's 1. Nope. Maybe it's actually 5. Final check. It tells me the correct answer is 295, but that doesn't mean it's wrong and I can't ever get it right. You just hit similar question. It changes the numbers. If you don't know how to do this, there's a question help button, and almost all of these have view an example. Help me solve this. View an example will just drag you by the nose, so to say, continue, and tell you the steps of the problem, eventually getting to the answer, and then you can try it on your own. Help me solve this will actually ask for your input along the way. So before you can hit the continue, you have to say, all right, well, what are they paying based on this, and this fact? So maybe you do the view an example and help me solve this, and then you can actually go back and do the actual problem. So again, infinite attempts on those. What do the Excel assignments look like? So here's the heart rate one. You click, it'll bring you to this page. It tells you how to download. You click this button. Then you go to work. This is preview steps. You can check that out. You'll go, when you finish, you'll go here to upload it after you save your Excel file. And then when you want to submit it, you hit submit for grading. Now I can't show you the next screen, but after you submit for grading, and again, you will traditionally get 5 attempts, it will give you a breakdown of your grade. So let's download. I just want, now there's a separate instruction file as well as the instruction just in the Excel file. So I'm just going to download the Excel file, again, because it has the instructions inside of it. We wait. So the first tab are the instructions. It tells you how many points each thing is worth. It says in cell C11, do this. In cell C16, do that. Make a clustered chart using recommended charts and put it in these cells. Save, boom, that's it. The actual question is this. So you're literally just typing something in this cell, filling it down, and then creating a recommended chart, which I can't show you that right now because there's no data, and then putting it over here. That's the entire assignment. It's very short. It's very simple, but that chart makes some people lose points because they don't pay attention to the instructions. When it says to use a recommended chart, you have to use a recommended chart. So again, instructions. Pay attention to the instructions. Click recommended charts, blah, 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 blah. So when you get your grade after you submit it, it'll tell you how many points you actually got out of each of these things, and it'll give you a little arrow you can click, and it'll give you more detailed instructions on, hey, why you missed these points. Sometimes the instructions aren't clear-cut, especially when it's talking about charts, but it's better than nothing. At least you know it's wrong and you got to fix it. They can be very generous with partial credit sometimes. They can be not so generous sometimes. It just depends on what you did wrong. The Excels are auto-graded. I don't actually grade them. There are occasions where I'll go back and overwrite a grade because someone might have had a chart right and all they did was put it in the wrong spot. And if it's a complicated chart, I might give them a pass on that if they let me know. But I'm not going to go and look at all 5 of every student's attempts for this. I would never have a life. All right, so what else? Not that file. Helpful tips. The downloading of Excel files we already basically talked about. Use the feedback to get to the next attempt. How do you find course videos? This is something I said there'll be quizzes on occasionally. So if you go to Video Resource Library, and then you click the video button. Now you can use the chapter drop-down menu to select a specific chapter or just leave it on all chapters and click Find Now. And these are a bunch of different videos like the one you saw earlier with the author, Gaze, G-A-Z-E, like to gaze at the sun. Look at all these spreadsheet tutorials. Look at how many Excel things they gave you. So if my Excel tutorial for the next 2 days isn't enough, if the internet's help with Excel isn't enough, these are some great videos that'll tell you almost everything you need for this course. And you don't need to watch all of these. Anything that says this stuff you really don't need. The chapter-based videos are a lot shorter. Oh, they actually added the PKA stuff finally. That's great. That just happened this week. So I am having a hard time dealing with proportions. Here's a video on proportions. You can watch it. You can slow it down. You can rewatch it. I will give occasional quizzes on these, as you see in that document. I'll tell you which video to watch. If it's a long video, I'll give you a timestamp. Submitting Mymathlab homework, we already talked about that. It's just instantly graded. Viewing or printing the worksheets, we already talked about. How do you get your free Microsoft Office in, actually, I don't want to say Blackboard there, just Google it. This is the website. When you log in with your VCCS credentials, in the top right should be the download button unless you are on a Chromebook. Remember, Chromebooks are kind of crappy for this course. Make sure you've got a scientific calculator. You're not supposed to be using cell phones, although I'm going to have a hard time regulating that. Class notes will be posted in Canvas in advance. Pop quizzes may be given on these readings occasionally. We talked about the projects. We talked about how this is not a high school class. This is the most important sentence out of those two. Pay attention. You're going to hear me say 10,000 times throughout this course. Does it make sense? Is something you need to ask yourself 10,000 times throughout this course. So we'll get into that idea as we continue. What does your Canvas course look like? It looks like this, basically. Right now, and if you logged in before class, you might have seen a whole bunch of other stuff that I carried over from my previous course and I didn't hide yet. It's hidden now. Your lecture video, the live lecture is here, and then as I record things, it'll go in the next tab below it, and then below it, and below it, and below it, and those will be YouTube links. I generally upload by 5 p.m. the same day of a lecture. And again, by the end of the semester, you'll have all sorts of lecture videos. You'll have all sorts of quizzes loaded up. You'll have reviews. The helpful tips, that document is up there as well. You might have a place to submit an Excel file or two, to submit a project or two. Your chapter notes will be in here. I don't have those available yet, so you'll slowly start to see those being added eventually. And that is time. I did manage to cover everything just barely. Whew. All right, so we'll give you another 30 seconds if you have any questions. Besides that, that's how this course works. Again, takes a while to talk about because there's a lot of details. If you miss anything, please rewatch this, because when you ask me questions throughout the semester, like, hey, when are homeworks due? How do we do this? How do we do that? I'm going to say, I covered that pretty extensively. All right, so it was excellent to see some of y'all. Thank you for making sure my audio is good. I look forward to working with you this semester. And next class, like I said, we will be doing some Excel. So if you are able to have a computer up and running Excel at the same time as watching this lecture, that's going to be great. Otherwise, you might just want to have it kind of a back and forth thing with the recorded lecture when you go to build it yourself. So have a good one. We'll see you on Thursday. Enroll in Mymathlab today. Don't delay. Take care.